How's it going, everybody? It's Pilot Flame, and we are back with another FPL video live stream today, and we are back for Game Week 31 preview. So we'll be taking a look at the end of Game Week 30 as it finished today with two fixtures between Everton and Crystal Palace, and Wolves and West Ham, both very hotly contested affairs in that one. So I only had just the Aaron Cresswell in those two fixtures, so didn't get much from him there, ending up on a small red arrow, so not great overall. But there are some positives to take from the game week, and we just have to stick with the plan, and I think we'll hold out strong. Hopefully getting inside that top 100k before the end of the season. Obviously top 10k looks to be a bit far away, but you never know. We have to keep being positive and keep making those strides forward. As per normal, we'll check how we did for our predictions as well as our differential picks, and we'll be making our predictions for Game Week 31 as well. And it's a quicker turnaround this week, so it's going to be Friday is the deadline. I believe it's 14:30, which is 2:30 in the afternoon my time, 1:30 p.m. EST. So we will actually be live for that because with my new schedule, I have Fridays off, which is nice. So I'll be able to do this stream 1 hour before as per usual. So make sure to come check us out for that. If you are watching this over on YouTube, we do these live streams over on Twitch, so make sure to come check us out for them as well. There's usually a pinned comment down below on pretty much every video, which will say when the next live stream actually is. So make sure to come check us out for that. But yeah, without further ado, let's see how the team did. And it seems my green screen's got a little bit of fixing that needs to be done. But don't worry, we have the capability of doing this on the fly. Let's see. Where are we at here? So if I do a little bit of that, a little bit of that, a little bit of that, like it's brand new. But yeah, so this is the team up on the screen, as auto subs have been done already. Tentatively sitting at a 2.23 million game week rank, so not great overall. And then we're just outside the top 700k again. So again, two poor game weeks. We're not back to where we were when we had that big green arrow to surge inside the top million at 755k. But again, a disappointing week overall. But there are positives to take from it. So our our transfer, Bruno Fernandes, obviously came in with an assist. De Bruyne playing but not getting anything in the Man City game. It was mostly fringe players in that one. You know, Mendy, Jesus, Sterling, players that haven't been, either playing too much or haven't been, kind of consistently hitting points. So we got away with that one there. And then Cancelo didn't feature at all. So he would have came on for Aina's 1 point. So we missed out on 1 point there by bringing in Azpilicueta. But again, Azpilicueta is for the longer term. And as we feared, the likes of Cancelo is going to be rotated, and he's probably going to be used for the Champions League. And I'm very interested to see what Pep's team is going to be in the Champions League, because then we can kind of take and say, okay, those are his first team players. Those guys are going to play Champions League minutes, and the rest of them are going to be probably positioned for spots in the Premier League. So maybe those are the Man City players that we can go for moving forward. But in the back line, Martinez obviously not keeping a clean sheet, but getting himself a bonus point, and he's just been such a hero. I mean, I got him late, but some of these scores on here, 10, 12, 10, 10, 11, 13, even a 9 right here. He's got a lot of crazy amount of points, and I'm glad that I've got him even when I did, even it was, too little too late from the amount of points that he was getting. But 4 points from him, basically getting pretty much my whole back line combined, barring 1 point. Azpilicueta obviously getting 0 with Chelsea's 5-2 defeat. Not ideal there. Hopefully they can pick it up versus Crystal Palace. Luke Shaw, only just the 2 points. Kind of didn't expect a clean sheet. Expected Brighton to score, although in the manner that they did score, a bit unfortunate not to come away with something, at least a return potentially from him as well. He did put in a couple of decent crosses. Mind you, it looked like Aaron Wan-Bissaka was more of the more of the threat going down the opposite side, which is rare to see. Cresswell put in a few decent set pieces, nothing from it there, and then conceding 2, obviously. And then Target coming off our bench. Again, the goal that they conceded was just a mistake by Tyrone Mings, so it's a bit unfortunate there. Had 2 clean sheets wiped out on that one as well. And I knew that going into the game that I would have Target coming off the bench because Gundogan was initially in the lineup and he didn't play, getting himself 0 points. But I fully expect him to play in the Champions League, which is why he may be a bit of a worry going forward. And maybe we have to look to address both him and maybe Lookman, who's injured as well, who would have came off my bench had another player missed out. Again, we spoke on Fernandes getting himself the assist. Son, clearly not fully fit for Mourinho's team, and they ended up only getting a draw out of it, which is a bit of a poor result for Spurs. Rafinha captain, again, feel a bit harshly done. Could have potentially had a goal, had an easy chance that he could have scored had Harrison just squared it to him. But 12 points, you know, he did return, so we can't really complain too much about that. It's just the other alternative option would have been, you know, Fernandes or Kane, and Kane, you know, being the standout option, again, being punished for basically, you know, pick the clear and obvious choice, pick, you know, go, just play it dumb, basically, play it simple, you know, just do exactly what everyone else is doing and you'll just get points. So, again, going with Kane, would have been obviously the better choice. Would have probably ended up on a slightly bigger green arrow for sure. Whether it had been too big or not, I'm not too sure. Rafinha would have been 6 less points. Kane would have been 13 more points, so a net of 7 points would end on 56. Probably would have been a green arrow for sure, but probably would have just been the same amount of probably a 60k green arrow, which, you know, isn't a crazy amount at this rank. It's basically like if you're in, you know, if you're in the top 10k going from 8k to 9k or something like that. It's not, you know, it's not going to make or break it really. And then up front, we got Watkins, who got himself a goal and a bonus point, which was nice to see, even with Grealish out of the team, who could be back versus Liverpool, which would be nice, because that means he'll potentially be getting more chances. And then Vardy coming away with just the 2 points. In the end, Leicester pretty much dominated wholeheartedly by Man City. And then on the bench, we I was very worried because Fulham were winning, you know, 1-0 up against Villa. Didn't look like they were going to score. I was going to have 2 clean sheets plus some potential bonus points on my bench. And then, obviously, Aston Villa getting the 3 goals and ultimately winning the game quite comfortably. So all in all, not terrible. Again, we did captain our 3rd highest score, which, you know, at least we captained somebody who did return. But for the most part, it was just basically just the defense that really was letting us down. A couple of benchings obviously made it so that we got less points than what we potentially could have. And, you know, maybe Gundogan scores one of those goals because it's in and around the box, like the one that Jesus scored as an example. Maybe that's Gundogan in there. You know, on a different day, Thiago Silva doesn't get sent off, or doesn't make as... I mean, he could have been sent off for the first yellow card that he got, honestly. Maybe Rafinha scores an extra goal. But again, swings and roundabouts on that one. On paper, Rafinha was probably one of the better captaincy choices, and I think that I would, you know, make that decision again. You know, Sheffield United at home, I think that they would definitely feel themselves quite let down that they only scored 2 in that game. And I think it was kind of a pretty much a mirrored version of the Spurs game, which it's a bit weird to kind of say because Spurs were being like, you know, their goal was being peppered and they ended up drawing 2-2, whereas Leeds was fully in control, you know, scoring well, creating a lot of chances, but just not being as ruthless in front of goal. And Bamford had an off day. He came off with just 2 points after like 65 or so minutes. So, yeah, it is what it is there. But overall, like I said, captaincy choice, would have done it again, personally. Would have definitely made the same decision. And we knew that Kane could punish us. The first goal that they did get was, you know, Kane was very fortunate to get, but second goal was taken quite well. So, again, can't really complain too much. Captaincy got a return. It's just our differential players need to come through, and if they don't come through, then we don't really go up in rank, and that's kind of how it kind of works. Because a lot of people have, you know, the likes of Kane, the likes of Fernandes, the likes of Son, the likes of Rafinha, Martinez. If the likes of Azpilicueta or Shaw or Cresswell or Target or Vardy don't get points, and if you look at all of them, Azpilicueta, Shaw, Cresswell, Target, Vardy, they didn't get any points. They weren't the ones returning. So yeah, it's a bit unfortunate there. But I digress, and we'll take a look at the scores for the week. Some pretty high-scoring games in this one, actually, which was quite interesting to see. And some of my predictions are definitely going to be wrong, for sure. So this is the tweet that we put out at the end of our last preview stream. And yeah, I'm gonna have some wrong scores here. Let's just say that. But if you don't know how the scoring works, basically it's 3 points if you get the exact score right. So if I had predicted West Brom to win 5-2, then I would get 3 points. If I predicted a West Brom win, I would get 1 point, and if I get anything else other than that, then I get no points. But yeah, let's see how we did. Hey Sherry, how's it going? Hopefully your game week went a little bit better than mine. Hopefully a green arrow for you. But I think this game week was a bit tough. Basically, like if you didn't have Kane captained, you probably struggled a little bit to find points for the most part. Obviously, there are some that did quite well. Obviously, if you had a combination of, let's say, Lingard was one of the differential players on the rise, as it were, that did well. If you had Jota, if you had Salah, these sorts of players in combination, then you probably did okay. So yeah, small green arrow, 57 points. Yeah, see, I would have had probably around a similar score. A small green arrow as well. Had I got let's say if I had Captain Kane, it would have been a net 7. So I'd have been on 56. So it probably would have been around a similar, like I said, probably around 50k the other way or 60k the other way. But yeah, prediction-wise, Chelsea 3-0 West Brom, that definitely didn't happen. That was definitely an eye-opener for the game week. And the second I saw that game, I was kind of thinking to myself, this game week is not going to go well. On paper, it looked very good. Chelsea defender versus West Brom. Rafinha captain versus the worst team in the league. City's playing against a difficult Leicester team and has rotation. It's rotation heavy. Arsenal and Liverpool, tough one to call. Southampton, Burnley, not going to be much in that. Newcastle versus Spurs. Spurs should absolutely trounce them. Son's back. Everything's going to go gravy. Aston Villa, Grealish is back. We're all good. West Ham should be keeping a clean sheet versus Wolves because Wolves' attack is atrocious. And basically none of those things happened. So, yeah, it is what it is. But, yeah, so definitely got that one wrong, so we don't get any points for that one. We did predict the Leeds win. It wasn't 3-0, however. It was 2-1, so we get the 1 point for that. Leicester Man City was not a draw. I got the 2 part of the Man City right, but not the Leicester part. Leicester was just very flat in that one, so we get no points for that. Liverpool 3-1 over Arsenal, ended up being 3-0, so the 1 point there. Burnley Southampton was definitely not a 1-1. It was a 3-2 in favor of Southampton after going 2-0 down. So no points there. Spurs almost had the win, but to be fair, Newcastle definitely deserved at least a point. So nothing there. Aston Villa ended up winning by a 2-goal margin, not 2-0 over Fulham, so just the 1 point there. United Brighton, we predicted the exact score, 2-1, so we get 3 points there. Everton, again, another disappointing result at home. Just the 1-1 draw for them. Palace with Batshuayi nicking it late. So nothing there. And Wolves and West Ham was definitely not a no-no, so nothing there. So we get 1, 2, 3, 6 points in total. So one less than what we got from last week, which isn't great. Because usually we want to get around the 8-point mark. 4 1-pointers and then a 3-pointer if we can, because that's half and half, and we get at least one exact score right. Clean sheet definitely did not go to Leeds. Messi did not keep a clean sheet. Alonso did play, but conceded 4. But he got an assist, though. So I guess that kind of half counts, so we'll take 1 there. Odegaard, again, played okay, but no returns there. And Cavani came off, and it ended up being Mason Greenwood who ended up scoring for the 1 goal that Cavani probably would have put away as well, nodded at home. So again, 1 out of 4 in the differentials. Overall, just not really a game week to remember, to be honest. at least in my books. But yeah, some of the surprising things: Chelsea now find themselves in a very sticky situation because they now are behind West Ham definitively with even number of games. Same with Spurs, same with Liverpool, and they're all chasing West Ham. And West Ham have pretty good fixtures. They have a couple tough ones, but overall they should be getting some points. So if you look at West Ham's fixtures, Leicester, that could be tricky. Let's say Leicester beat them on that one. Then West Ham have Newcastle. They should be getting 3 points from there. Chelsea, again, these are these next 3 weeks are probably going to be what defines who's going to get there. And then Burnley, obviously quite easy. Everton away could be a bit tricky. Everton's the away team in that one. Could be quite tricky. Brighton, they should do fine. West Brom, they should do fine. And then Southampton on the last day of the season. But yeah, all things considered, West Ham look in good shape. It's just that Leicester game and that Chelsea game. If they can draw those games and then win the rest, then they're looking okay. All things considered. Because Chelsea are going to have some difficult fixtures coming up. They have a nice easier run. 3 out of the next 4. But then they have City, Arsenal, Leicester, Aston Villa to end the season. Spurs. They have Leicester on the final day. They have United next. They also have a Carabao Cup to deal with. They also play 2 games back to back. There is some pretty tricky fixtures in there. Leicester themselves, they have West Ham, which is somewhat difficult, but then they have West Brom, Crystal Palace, Southampton, Newcastle should be good there, but they have a rough run. That could be 9 dropped points in 3 games in a row. Could be tricky for them as well, but there are teams in Europe there, so they may get away with it potentially and just scrape in the top 4. Wild card in Game Week 31. Which one? Azpilicueta or Cresswell? I'm also picking Mendy as goalkeeper and Jesse Lingard. It's a bit tough. I would say Cresswell probably, just because you have the clean sheet covered for Chelsea. Azpilicueta typically gets bonus points, but Cresswell covers the set piece delivery typically in most cases, whereas Lingard kind of covers you from open play, whereas Azpilicueta is not really going to be on set pieces unless he heads one in. But what you can potentially do is where is it? So Azpilicueta has Crystal Palace, Brighton, then they play each other, and then Fulham. And then from 35 onwards, Cresswell has Everton, Brighton, West Brom, and Southampton. So you could basically have Azpilicueta for the first 4, and then Cresswell for the next 4. Although Cresswell does have 2 quite nice fixtures in there as well, Newcastle and Burnley. So they could be good. Also, or even, who's one of our differential picks for this week, spoiler, is Masuaku, 4.3 million, playing as basically a left winger. He could be quite good. 4.3 million, and he's just come back in the team. Although with West Ham not having to play midweek and whatnot, they don't have to play any doubles. They don't have to do any of that sort. They're not in any cups or anything like that. He could be finding his way back into the team, and they're going to need his attacking threat. So, yeah, was leaning towards Cresswell. Yeah, I mean it's kind of a tough choice. I would say first 4 probably. Chelsea is probably what you want to go for, and then second 4 is probably West Ham. Moving on to predictions for this week. Let's bring over our trusty notepad here. So, like I said, the deadline is going to be on Friday of this week at 2:30 my time, which is 1:30 p.m. Sorry, not a.m. EST, and we will be here live for the deadline stream. So make sure to come check us out. But yeah, right into predictions here. So and as per normal, will be 1 hour before the deadline. Fulham versus Wolves. Now Fulham. They really they had the game pretty much under control. They were 0-0. They got a goal off a mistake, which they were waiting for. They were playing well. Aston Villa were pretty much on the back foot for the majority of the game. And then, all of a sudden, just the one goal, which was sloppy-ish defending. And then, bang, you go into this mental spiral, and then 3 goals, and then the game's out of your hands. Those are the sorts of games you got to be composed. You got to be at least getting a point out of, 70 minutes into the game. You're up 1-0. You got to have the composure, close out the game, get at least a point. Newcastle, just came away, or did they play? I can't remember if they played before or after. But they played just after. So they would have known that Newcastle would have just got a point. So they should have known to be like, well, at least let's come away with a point here. Let's try to make sure that we keep this one tight. Credit to Dean Smith and Aston Villa. He made the substitutions, which ultimately ended up winning them the game. So, me personally, I think Wolves. They've been looking. There's still a second half team, and if Fulham are going to be the one collapsing in the second half, I think Wolves may end up nicking it. And Wolves' defense doesn't look great at the moment, especially with that kind of hybrid back 4, back 3 sort of what they kind of play today. I'm not really sure what they're playing, to be honest. But all things considered, I think Wolves will probably have just too much. I'm going to agree with Sherry as well. I'm going to go with a Wolves 2-1 win. I just think that those 2 goals would have given Wolves some positivity. If they go into halftime at 0-0, you kind of expect Wolves are Wolves and United are 2 teams that are masters at winning the game in the second half. Basically, I mean, United did it versus Brighton. We do it quite often away from home, and Wolves has done it historically when they've played as well. If Wolves can go into halftime at 0-0, you should be worried about them in the second half, and they could potentially nick the game. So yeah, that's the only game on the Friday. On the Saturday, just the 3 fixtures here, all starting from the early kickoff, 12:30 UK time for Man City versus Leeds. So yeah, Leeds defensively were somewhat out of shape, but all things considered, were quite comfortable in the game. Again, they're versus Sheffield United, who they know they're going down anyway. Not really too much to kind of say there. City are going to be in much better shape. And it's going to be interesting to see what the team is going to be versus Leeds. It'll be interesting to see what the team versus Dortmund is going to be. Because we can see that some peripheral players may be getting the minutes that they desperately want for this game. And maybe leading forward. So we saw Aguero and Jesus both start. Sterling was on the bench. Cancelo was on the bench. A lot of players were definitely being rested for the Champions League, which is interesting to see. Now, that may be, comboed with the fact that it's coming off an international break, and maybe that's not going to hold true for the entire rest of the season. But I think that Man City should ultimately still win this game. Will Leeds score a goal? I think they potentially could. I think City could potentially be drained after the Dortmund game. Mind you, most of their star players didn't really feature, so I think City should comfortably see this one out. I'm going to go with City, getting a few goals off the start. Maybe they concede one, and then they kind of finish the game out, and I think they'll win 3-1. Liverpool versus Aston Villa. Now, Liverpool against Arsenal, completely dominant in the game. Arsenal showed basically no threat pretty much at all for the whole game, and Liverpool in the second half just kind of turned the screw. Klopp brought on Jota, which changed up the system to a 4-2-3-1, and they pretty much just kind of split them apart with basically their counterattack and their kind of quick movement of the ball, and some questionable defending on Arsenal's part, but that's always been in recent seasons been synonymous with them. Aston Villa, again, they were questionable in defense versus Fulham, and I think that Liverpool could potentially expose it. Being a home game, maybe they want to get back what Aston Villa did to Liverpool in the reverse fixture. I think Liverpool potentially still concede, especially if Jack Grealish is back, but I think they win the game. I think they win it comfortably. I think Villa gives them too much space, and I think they win the game 3-1, and I agree with Sherry as well. Getting a lot of agreements here this week, which is nice. Crystal Palace versus Chelsea. I mean, look, Crystal Palace did well versus Everton, but again, Everton are a team that just, very, very disappointing at home. Crystal Palace themselves have been historically very good away from home. And they're looking quite sharp. So Chelsea are going to have to be on their A game. I think Chelsea may have had one eye on the Champions League, and I don't think Tuchel makes the same mistake again. And I think they go back to winning ways, and think they get the clean sheet, and I think they win 2-0. Burnley versus Newcastle. Now, if there's anything for me to say about the early kickoff and Burnley, don't expect them to keep a clean sheet because it could be all guns blazing here. But in all seriousness, this looks like if there's a 0-0 on the cards, Burnley Newcastle is definitely it potentially. Good evening, Mono. How's it going? I think this could be the 0-0, although Burnley haven't been looking as good defensively. Newcastle have kind of pushed it a little bit. And I think I'm just going to sit on the fence with this one. I think this is going to be my 1-1 for the week. West Ham versus Leicester. I think that this one could be a close one. I mean, this is one of the important games. So West Ham have this versus Leicester, a must-win game versus Newcastle, and then a game versus Chelsea. Those two fixtures, West Ham, Leicester, West Ham versus Chelsea, and then Leicester play Chelsea towards the end of the season, are going to be crucial to see who makes it. If West Ham come out of this with 3 points, they're going to be looking strong. They're going to be looking very, very strong. And I'm actually going to look at, while I'm thinking of it, how close West Ham are. So if West Ham were to beat Leicester, they're only 1 point behind Leicester. If West Ham were to beat them, obviously goal difference is a little bit bigger than what they would like. But yeah, I think they could be in for a shout. Mono does bring up a good point. Minus Rice and Antonio. Antonio did look like he came off an injury, and Lingard was potentially holding the back of his hamstring. So maybe there's something in that there. I just think both teams are not really gonna get what they want out of this one. And I think that a 1-1 is probably what's gonna end up happening. Again, I went with my 1-1 again, but that's what I think is probably gonna happen. Spurs versus Man United. Now this one should go in favor of Man United away from home. Spurs defensively just look like they give way too much away. You know, if you're Rashford, if you're Greenwood, if you're Cavani, if you're Bruno, if you're Pogba, and you're looking at that back four of Reguilon, who likes to find himself forward quite a lot, Sanchez and Rodon as the back two, you know, as a center back pairing. Not really much going on there, and then Tanganga, who's basically a fake right back. You know, I mean, he played quite well, and he's going to probably potentially do quite well. He's got the pace, he's got the strength. I think if you're Man United, you should be looking to get revenge here. Although, who am I to kid? It's probably going to end up in a boring no. But yeah, we said that about the last one, and it ended up being a 6-1 drumming. But I don't see United taking another 6 goals against Spurs again. One thing that I do know is that Gareth Bale probably won't start in this game because United have Marcus Rashford, and Gareth Bale ain't tracking Marcus Rashford. Assuming that he plays, obviously. But United have a lot of fast players in their front three, and I don't think Gareth Bale is going to be in for that type of shift. My hope is 2-1 Spurs. Oh, we can't be hoping that. We did hope United win. 6-1, says Zaka. No, it's not going to be 6-1. If it is 6-1, I think that'll be the first time ever that someone's had that ridiculous amount of goals or whatever. I think it will be 1-1. I mean, that's probably likely. Told you Kane would have had a hat trick. Yeah, and so could Rafinha, to be honest. Yeah. Yeah, I am a Man United fan. I'm going to favor United in this one. I think they're in a bit of form. I don't think it's as clear cut, but I think United will probably just edge it. They want to get back the points that they basically lost at the start of the season from Spurs. They want to get one over Jose Mourinho. You know, that kind of old argument, old foe there. And I think that with that win, United will probably definitely seal themselves top 4 and probably at least second place, or at least third place rather, with the win. But you never know. Yeah, they might just. Who knows? It could be 6-1 the other way this time. We have no clue. But yeah, I think United probably just shaded based on form. Bouncing back from losing to Leicester in the FA Cup. And maybe Jose Mourinho will have one eye potentially, in a couple weeks' time on the Carabao Cup final against City. So, yeah. Sheffield United versus Arsenal. Now, this should be a clean win for Arsenal. They showed absolutely nothing versus Liverpool, to be honest. And I hope for their sake that they can beat Sheffield United. I don't know what the result was the last time they played them. Let me actually take a look. Where is Arsenal? You have to scroll part of the way down the table now to see where they are, because they're currently in 10th, which isn't ideal for them. Sheffield United. When did they play them? They played them in the FA Cup last season, where they won 2-1. Did I go past it? Oh, they won 2-1 earlier. Yeah, so they were pretty much comfortable. It was pretty, low efforts on target, not really too much in the game, but they should definitely win that one. I'm gonna go with a 2-0. I think they should probably keep a clean sheet too, to be honest. 4-0, 3-0, 3-1. Defense will let one through. My tactic the rest of the season is just captaining players who ever play Sheffield United. Yeah, I mean that's probably a good idea, to be honest. Arnold and Vidra in for Bamford and Dallas, a good move. I mean, probably Chris Wood is probably better, just because I think he's on penalties, and I think that's how he scored one. I would say Chris Wood's probably better now. Funds wise, Vidra maybe. I mean, for the next 3 games, you're probably looking at some decent fixtures. I don't know what Burnley's fixtures are. Where's Burnley? Where's Chris Wood? Newcastle, Man United, Wolves. I mean, it's not great. And Trent's fixtures obviously get, better further on. Yeah, like this is where Trent's fixtures are real good. 33 onwards. Yeah, I think it's okay. If you're not relying on Vidra like game in, game out, then yeah, sure. If it's like you're going to play him this week and then probably use him as bench fodder and play him when he has a decent fixture, then yeah, it seems fine. But Bamford should probably be coming back in 36 or thereabouts, though. Sack will be my captain this game week. Yeah, I mean, there's not many good captaincy options this week, like all things considered. Like, you're thinking a City asset, but, who's going to play? Chelsea, again, who's going to play for them? So then you're looking at captain, maybe a defender. Liverpool versus Villa, that's probably a shout, potentially. Burnley, Newcastle, not really going there. West Ham, Leicester, not really going there. Spurs, United. I mean, if you think Kane's going to do what he did the last time he played United, then yeah, sure. Arsenal versus Sheffield United, that seems to be or that or Southampton maybe. Or maybe Everton versus Brighton. It's a bit up in the air. I'm going to have a tough time picking captain. I might just stick it on Fernandes and just be like, maybe he gets a penalty like he did the last time he played Spurs and, ends up getting a bonus point or something randomly. Who knows? Yeah, moving onwards, we have West Brom versus Southampton. This should be a comfortable win for Southampton. West Brom are already going down. I don't think that they'll be, going down to 10 men as quickly as Chelsea did. I think they should be keeping a clean sheet, although I don't think they will, and I think West Brom will make it hard for them, but I think Southampton will probably win 2-1. That's what I think. And Sherry says 2-0. I just think that West Brom maybe get a goal. They showed a little bit more fight. Maybe they think they have, a chance now. I mean, if we look at the Premier League table, West Brom, they're 5 points off Fulham, but they're not 8 points off of Newcastle. I mean, it's definitely possible, but West Brom have to continue their winning run if they're going to be able to do it. Like their last games to end the season. So Southampton, you know, that could be a game where they get 3 points. Leicester, that's Leicester away, could be tough. Villa, not easy. Wolves, they could potentially get something. Arsenal, they do well historically against. Liverpool, West Ham, Leeds, those are 4 tough fixtures to end the season. By then, it could be already out of their hands, but they need to win games like this if they're gonna be doing well. Callum Robson against us is prime Kurt Muller. Yeah, I mean that's possible. Yeah, he just came on and just was like, yeah, I'll just put in the back of the net. Sure. Yeah, they're gonna need to show. They're definitely gonna need to show fight like they did versus Chelsea. But they're gonna need to show that same fight when it's 11v11. That's the real problem. That's the real problem. And then Brighton versus Everton. Again, Everton should bounce back from this. But I think that I can see Brighton giving them a bit of problems. Do Everton just barely nudge it? I think Brighton, and Brighton's at home. Yeah, probably. I'm going to go with a 2-1 Everton win. Brought in Azpilicueta, almost captain. I think I have the armband. Or I think I had it on Azpilicueta. I think I just put on Fernandes by default afterwards, though. Silva, Zuma, Jorginho ruined that game in every way possible. I mean, yeah, Zuma is like a worse version of Antonio Rudiger, but both of them, they just don't want the ball at their feet. They just don't ever pass them the ball. Thiago Silva could have been sent off for the first yellow, potentially. Second one, probably a bit harsh, but again, should you be flying in like that? Probably not. You're the man with the experience, not really sure what he's doing. And Jorginho basically put Thiago Silva in both of those situations, pretty much. So, yeah, I mean, it is what it is. Moving on to our clean sheet differential picks. So this week, clean sheet, I think Arsenal. Again, Sheffield United. Can't really go with too much else there. And then Leno at 6.7%. He is also somebody that you could potentially, if you have a little bit extra funds and you have Martinez, you could bring him in. And I think there's like 2 or 3 fixtures maybe where Leno is basically covers Martinez pretty much. So if we look, I'm just going to look here. So if I do Leno, I'm just going to take out Areola. So if we look at the fixtures where Leno has some decent ones, so 31, he's got a good fixture. 32, he's got a good fixture. 34, he's got a good fixture. 35, he's got a good fixture. And 37, he's got a good fixture. Maybe 38. So 31 and 32, who does Martinez play? Well, he plays Liverpool and City, so that's probably good. Then Martinez plays in West Brom in 33, where Leno has Everton. And then Leno has Newcastle when Martinez has Everton. Martinez has Man United, Spurs, and Chelsea in 35, 37, and 38. And Leno has West Brom, Crystal Palace, and Brighton in those fixtures. So it looks to be quite a good rotation if you were to go for something like that. I potentially still have that on the cards, although maybe I just go for just a different goalkeeper altogether, and it's just a set and forget type of ordeal. But we will see. Will Rudiger play the rest of the games now instead of Zuma? Well, apparently there was like a little bust up in training where Rudiger like went in on Kepa late and then he basically apologized for it afterwards, but also played a lot of international games, so I would expect Rudiger to come back in instead of Zuma. Personally, but with it seems like he favors Thiago Silva and Christensen as the same type of defender, and then Rudiger and Zuma are like the same type of defender in that where he plays them, like the left-sided center back of the back three is like Rudiger / Zuma. The center of the 3 center backs is like Thiago Silva or Christensen, and then the right-sided center back is just Azpilicueta basically. So yeah, Azpilicueta is the one that I'm so glad I went Azpilicueta. I mean, at the end of the day, if I would have gone Rudiger, I would have got 1 point extra. So we will see. But I think in the long term, I think Azpilicueta is definitely better. In defense, Masuaku, I mean, this is not necessarily good for this week necessarily because they play Leicester, but in the long term, 0.4%, 4.3 million defender playing basically left-sided attacker, left wing, looks to be quite good. And his minutes will potentially be, managed a little bit, which is potentially a good thing. Because West Ham seem to concede goals in the second half, and if that's after 60 minutes and he's already come off, then he's okay. So yeah, I think he could be quite a good pick, and a 4.3 million could be quite good for that, and look quite attacking. In midfield for a differential pick this week, I've got Nathan Redmond. They're versus West Brom. He's just come off a goal and an assist, looking quite good. Potentially going to retain his place before a potential, starting position for the FA Cup semi-final they have versus Leicester. He's going to definitely want to keep showing that he's the right man for the job, and has been doing quite well. 0.2% owned as well, so could be quite good there. And then lastly, Chris Wood. Goal and an assist, obviously one of them being a penalty. They play the Newcastle this week, and could be a good differential pick. Vidra as well was obviously mentioned by Ben in the chat. So yeah, I think those are going to be my differential picks for the week. Not really your cup of teas and something you're probably going to be wanting on a wild card, but if you're not wild carding and you're looking for a 1 week punt and maybe you're wild carding in 32 or you're on a free hit or something like that, you're looking for something a little bit spicy this week. These are the ones I would potentially suggest. Typically the goalkeepers are a bit like who's going to get the clean sheet basically. But yeah, I will post those over on Twitter as we normally do. As we do at the end of the stream. So, this is the team as it currently stands at the moment. I have the captaincy on Fernandes, but if you look at the team, it's not great in terms of fixture-wise. But the thing is, last week, we had a bunch of fixtures that looked good. I mean, we had Martinez versus Fulham. We had Watkins versus Fulham. We had Kane and Son versus Newcastle. We had Vardy versus City, which obviously isn't great. Fernandes and Shaw versus Brighton. We had Rafinha versus Sheffield United. We had Cresswell versus a very poor Wolves side. Gundogan was playing just in the City team, hopefully. And then Azpilicueta with West Brom. The fixtures look really good. And didn't pan out well. So maybe this week I got a boatload of points. Who knows? I mean, look at some of the fixtures we have. We have Areola versus Wolves. Okay. That's definitely better than Liverpool away. But then Azpilicueta, Crystal Palace away. And then if you look at the rest of the fixtures, and then Gundogan leads at home. But again, Gundogan might not even play, so who knows there. Cresswell's got Leicester at home. Vardy's playing him. So 2 players playing against each other with West Ham away. Rafinha's playing Gundogan, but again, that's a shootout in 2 midfielders, so it doesn't really matter. Shaw and Fernandes play Son and Kane, and then Watkins plays against Liverpool. So it's not looking good for the team. It's not looking good at all, and potentially a transfer is needed to potentially sort this out. Also, Lookman could be potentially injured as well. That's why he's currently flagged. I'm not sure what his injury actually is, but he looked to be hobbling off a little bit when he was substituted. So we'll have to see for the team news on that. Is there a chance I potentially play Aina in over the likes of Shaw or Cresswell? Probably not, just because Shaw and if Aina was playing if he was literally playing like West Brom or Sheffield United or something like that, then maybe. But they're playing Wolves. Wolves just scored 2 versus West Ham. It's a bit rough this week to pick from. And there's not really any transfers I would like to make that I would say this looks fantastic on paper, that would lead me in good stead for the next few weeks. If I go and open up my transfer thing on here. So one transfer I could make this week is something that I would have potentially have done in 33. Would have been Saka for Gundogan. Although Gundogan is somebody that, if he plays versus Leeds, can do quite well. The problem is he going to play? That's the question. And I think the answer is it's a 50-50. It's kind of a coin toss. So my next 3 transfers that were penciled in was Martinez out for a goalkeeper, and I was thinking Patricio, but Wolves looked quite open on the counter, especially now that Johnny Otto is out again with another cruciate knee injury. Bali is currently self-isolating after testing positive for COVID, so that looks to be not a great decision overall. In 32, I was looking to get rid of Lookman for Jota, but maybe I have to do that this week potentially. And maybe I go with my transfer instead of Rafinha, and maybe I bring in Saka and I captain him. Like, you know, there's not many great things that I can do, but those were the 3 transfers I was looking to bring in: was a goalkeeper for Martinez, Jota for Lookman, and then Saka for Gundogan. And that would leave me with the ability to save a transfer in 34, and then bring in Salah, and then do some transfers after that towards the end of the season. But yeah, not looking great for a captaincy option this week. And Arsenal didn't fill me with much, you know, kind of joy because of the fact that they just really had no answer to Liverpool, who, you know, let's be honest here, they're not that good defensively at the moment. But I guess it's just Liverpool's, you know, retention of the ball, which is what stunted Arsenal, whereas Sheffield United isn't really going to give them that. So we'll have to see. But maybe if the goalkeeper transfer gets kind of pushed back, you know, a little bit, then maybe we can look, you know, something a little bit different. So, so if I were to go, you know, Lookman, I would keep Gundogan. If let's say Lookman is injured. Tierney's also injured as well, which doesn't help, which means that Saka could be playing left wing back or left back, which isn't ideal. But let's say Lookman is injured for, you know, hypothetical sake. Did Saka even play? See, no, he didn't even play, so he could still be injured. That's another thing, is I don't even know if Saka's even fit, which would mess this whole plan up, which, you know, it just wouldn't be ideal. And there's not really many other midfielders that have a good run of fixtures that I would like to have at this moment in like that 5 million bracket that I can come in and potentially be like a differential captaincy choice. So if I go to midfielders and I go to like 5, I'll go 5-9 and lower. Like Neto, like, is Pereira actually an option? Not really. You know, Trossard, we had looked at him. You know, Neto, do I really like Neto's fixtures look great, and maybe he's the one that we go for, but Wolves attack, not really looking at that ideally, to be honest. And let's say we do go for Neto, and then the following week we get rid of Gundogan for Jota, because that's who we would want in. You know, we have 0.5 million. Then we're looking at a potential goalkeeper. If I could just bring up the Fantasy Football Scout members area on the side here. If it will work for me. There we go. And then I go to the season ticker. And then we'd be looking at what? 33 onwards. So if I did change it to... So basically 33 to like the end of the season, pretty much. So 33 to the end of the season, sort by attack, sort by difficulty. We'd basically be looking at a Liverpool player, which we'd be having Jota in. We'd be looking at Burnley, Arsenal, Saka would be the ideal one. Sheffield United, ain't going there. West Ham would be Lingard, but he could potentially be injured. Wolves, again, Neto. United, Mason Greenwood, but again, is he gonna play every game? And then Leeds, you know, are the last 3 fixtures. But if we're looking at, I mainly want to look at the next like 3 fixtures after 33. So if I did 33, 34, 35, then you know Arsenal is up there. Wolves is definitely up there. So maybe it is Neto that we end up going for. Is Lingard 6'1"? He's 6'2". So we could get him right now, but again, is he injured? That's the question. Another thing I also wanted to look at was the season ticker for defense for the rest of the season from 32 onwards, or 33 onwards as well. So if I go to defense, sort by difficulty, again, Liverpool's up there, West Ham's up there. 33, who does Areola have in 33? Nobody. Great. Arsenal's up there, Everton's up there, Wolves is up there, Sheffield United's up there, Leicester's up there, Burnley's up there. So again, do I really trust Arsenal fans? Not really. Do I play Fabianski versus, you know, get with Fabianski instead of Martinez, just play him and just have double defense there for the rest of the season? That's a possibility as well. So basically in 33, we would have to basically play Fabianski basically versus Chelsea. Now, the last time they played Chelsea, you know, they lost 3-0, but obviously their defense was nowhere near what it was after, you know, David Moyes kind of changed the system. So it may look like a crazy move to bring in somebody against Chelsea and have double West Ham defense. And then we would have Son, Kane, and Aina on the bench, and we'd have the rest of the guys playing. So it'd be Watkins, Vardy, Rafinha, Neto, Fernandes, Jota, and then the 4 at the back. So probably be a bit crazy there, but again, London derby, you never know what can happen. So maybe that's something that we can go with potentially to kind of change it up a little bit if Saka's, you know, not fit. And then we have to check further down the line if we save a transfer, and then we get rid of Fernandes. Can we bring in Salah in 1? We can't, which is not ideal. So we'd have to get rid of somebody a fixture earlier. That's the only issue. And Vardy at home to Newcastle could be a very good fixture for him. So that would be a bit of a tricky one there. Again, the Saka thing is the values what we were looking at. You know, that extra, you know, 0.4, so that we can go Salah to Fernandes straight in 35. You know, no problem. That's kind of the issue there. Alternatively, we could just hang on to Martinez, just keep him for the rest of the season. Maybe make a goalkeeper change way later. You know, way later when we after because he may play a double at some point in one of these, so we don't know. And then we change him out for the last 2 games of the season, something like that. But let's say we did do Neto, and then we brought in Jota, and then we saved the transfer going into you know, 33. Then in 34 we'd have 2 transfers, but we wouldn't want to get Salah in for this one because they play United. Salah doesn't play well versus United, so maybe I do a setup transfer. But again, can't realistically do that. But in 34, I could then, you know, because obviously West Ham's fixtures from 34 onwards, that's when we could potentially do it. So I can do nothing in 33, then do the Fabianski transfer in 34, and then in 35, we could do Fernandes to Salah. We would still need to do an additional transfer which again can't really do what I would like to do, which is basically bring in, Trent Alexander-Arnold. I was thinking about potentially a cheaper forward alternative. Kind of hinges on the fact that Saka's fit. So basically, I have to wait on team news really, to see how these things kind of pan out. Unless I use my free hit in 33, in which case then, we can change some things up a little bit. But I'd rather not have to do that. I'd rather look to free hit in potentially last day of the season, or in like 35, 36 maybe. We'll see. We will see. But in 35, if I were to save a transfer going into that, I would have to change some things up. I would have to definitely change some things up. So if I did the transfers in 34, it's a bit tricky to kind of work around those as well, because you want Salah for 35, but you also want him in 36 as well. And if you free hit there, then it can mess some things up there. So it is a bit tough, but yeah, very, very tough. How many hours each week are you on fantasy? Probably hard to quantify. But the way the season is working at the moment, where you basically can watch every game, I pretty much have watched at least 45 minutes of every game this season in the Premier League, barring like a couple exceptions. So like today, like when I have to, usually at the games I'll miss like 15 minutes here, 15 minutes there on some games on during weekdays. But if all the games on the weekend I watch all of them pretty much. So if you count that, then it's basically just how many games are there in a week. So if you say each game takes 2 hours, you think 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, so it's 20 games usually in a week, so 20 hours. Let's say we'll take an hour, we'll say 2 hours off of that, just for like, missing out here and there, maybe a bathroom break, travel, whatever it may be, like to and from, like in between a halftime or something like that. Maybe I miss out on something for like a midweek game or something. Then you can probably potentially, like, Champions League and that sort of stuff. And then actual planning, that's also counts into it as well. So it's really hard to quantify. How many hours are you on the website planning, transferring, choosing captain, etc., etc.? Not very often, to be honest. I mean, the streams, obviously, and then potentially, for videos and stuff. I would probably say total time, probably throughout the week, I would probably say probably like 8 hours. Probably like around an hour or so a day, I would say. Potentially like looking at transfers and that sort of stuff. Transfers, fixtures, that sort of stuff. But every now and again, what will happen is I'll go to see if I can plan out some transfers, and that's usually like an hour or two. And those are usually on like a weekend, or when it's like international break. I'm probably like, don't do anything for a week, and then I'm like on it, But yeah, I mean, being on the site itself like doesn't necessarily like equate to potentially better play. Like, you can do all of your research and that sort of stuff for fantasy, like not even logged into the site. You can be like, okay, I'm gonna look at stats to that sort of stuff, and then come in and be like, hey, this is what I'm gonna do. Boom, 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 boom. You're on the site for 30 seconds. Do you trust Liverpool defense not keeping Tierney and get asked for the question? You mean Arsenal? Yeah, I don't trust Arsenal's defense, to be honest. I don't trust it at all. Personally, I do not trust it. But that's just me. I do not trust Arsenal's defense. All things considered, but But yeah, this is the team as it stands. So we got Areola, Aspilicueta, Cresswell, Shaw, Gundogan, Rafinha, Son, Fernandez currently captained, although not really too happy about that. Although it means I'm gonna have to, obviously back my team and Fernandez to do well, get revenge on Spurs. Vardy, Kane with the vice captaincy, and Watkins with Martinez, Lookman, Aina, and Target on the bench. Have to wait for team moves, to be honest, because if I'm not using a free hit in 33, I have to manage my transfers wisely up until and including for that week. So yeah, gonna have to wait for some team news. But yeah, that's gonna do it for this one. So let me move over to the big screen. So yeah, that is gonna do it for this preview. Thank you all for joining us as well. We will be back here on Twitch for the deadline stream 1 hour before it on the Friday. We will be here because with my current schedule, I get Fridays off, which is nice. So I'll be here 1 hour before the deadline. You'll see a pinned comment down below for the YouTube VOD of this and all the videos that we do. So yeah, make sure to check that out. Yeah, the deadline is Friday. It's a 8 p.m. UK kickoff between Wolves and Fulham on the Friday. Yeah, it's 1 fixture Friday, 3 on Saturday, 4 on the Sunday, 2 on Monday, something like that. But yeah, it's Friday kickoff. So tomorrow we'll be having I can't remember what I actually scheduled video wise while I'm thinking of it here. Yeah, so we got Pep Roulette tomorrow, the wildcard drafts video that's hotly requested on a Wednesday, best captains on the Thursday, and then the deadline stream will be here 12 p.m. EST start time. We will be here basically just 1 hour before the FPL deadline. Just check it down for your relative time zone. Just whatever the deadline is, we'll be here live an hour before. Easiest way to kind of see it. But yeah, Fulham versus Wolves. Yeah, maybe I get Neto just so I don't have somebody, or I have somebody in the game itself. I mean, I have 3 Fulham players technically, but one of them may be injured, and one of them I don't want to necessarily double up on Fulham defense, do I? So yeah. Thanks for watching, and like, subscribe, follow, all that good stuff. And until the next one, take care.